modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Imotenu. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Imotenu. Leolam va'ed, Leolam va'ed, Leolam va'ed, Leolam va'ed. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Imotenu. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Imotenu. Thankful for our lives, thankful for our souls, thankful for the miracles, wondrous to behold. Thankful for the morning, thankful for the afternoon, thankful for the evening, nighttime blessed by you. Leolam va'ed, forever and ever. Leolam va'ed, forever and ever. Leolam va'ed, Leolam va'ed, forever, 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 Leolam va'ed. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, ve'imotenu.
Main screen, we are ready to roll. Oh man. Oh dear. Right? Oh, I think we are live. All right. We're on there. Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to our congregation here. Small but mighty tonight. So I'm glad to see everyone. To you who are watching at home and participating from services from maybe in your pajamas on a cold, wintry night like tonight, even though it's almost spring. Glad to see you, and glad you guys made it here in person. It's really, really nice to be together. We're going to begin our service by singing Hine Ma Tovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good it is that we can dwell together. Before we sing Lo Yisagoy, we'll do that in just a moment. First, Hine Ma Tov.
Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
And as a congregation, we're going to sing these beautiful words from Isaiah. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. We ask that nations shall not learn war, study war no more. We should beat our plowshares into swords. This is a prayer of peace and wholeness, and we are still praying that that will happen. We had hoped last Shabbat that by this Shabbat we would be in a more peaceful time, and that has not come to be. But we continue to send our prayers and our resources to the people who are more than 2 million now refugees who are displaced. So let's join together in singing Lo Yisagoy. We sang it last week, A-O-O-A. If you don't know it, you'll get it. Let's sing that together, A-O. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. El goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama.
Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od
Let's all sing together, Lo Yisagoy. Lo Yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. Lo yisagoy el goy cherev, lo yilmedu od milchama. We will sing our other prayer for peace, another prayer for peace, a little bit later on in the service, as we read a prayer specifically for peace in Ukraine. I'm going to ask if we have anyone in the congregation who would like to be a candle lighter tonight. Any takers? I see Pam's thinking about it. Yes, all right. Either Pam or Pam and Ira, some version of this year's. All right. So you can find the candle blessings on page 2 in your prayer book, page 2, or right up here on the screen. We have a little lighter for you. I think we have matches too. Okay. Yeah, you gotta push down on that thing. There you go. Nailed it. Right. It's putting Gail to shame.
Yeah.
Takes her a while there. Right. Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you very much. Our illustrious past president and first gentleman, thank you for that. We're going to turn to page 3 in your Siddur. We're going to read together. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives. Why don't we just take a moment. Mark, could you play some pretty stuff for a moment? And we'll just take a few minutes to take a deep breath as we get to Lachado D here. See if we can let some of that stress from the week melt away.
Lecha dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat, nikabla, lecha dodi, likrat kala b'nei Shabbat, nikabla, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom umevorach.
Let's turn to page 27 in our prayer book, page 27, or up here on the screen. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days, lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Well, we're going to turn to the call for worship, the Baruch Hu, and we'll invite, if you are able, to please rise on page 28. You at home, you could just sit up a little taller if you want, and we'll join together.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yada-da-da-da, 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 yada-da-da-da,
We'll continue with the Ma'ariv Aravim. If you're comfortable remaining standing for just a few moments, we'll invite you to do that. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. You are the creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. You reign, I said that already, but blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch Ata Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. Amen. We want to really emphasize that reigning of God. Let's join together in Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, v'chol levavecha, u'v'chol nafshecha, u'v'chol me'odecha, ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele, asher anochi mitzavecha, hayom alevavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayula totafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvihish arecha, leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'yot lachem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Well, we're going to turn in just a moment to the Michamocha prayer, and as we often do during this part of the service, we'll ask if anybody has something for which you are thankful. Oh, Bobby, you're gonna be on mic duty? So nice, thank you. I don't know that you're gonna need it. We'll see. Oh, you know this is out of batteries anyway. Maybe you can borrow one from over here. Okay. And now we'll see. Now someone's got to say something because Bobby's got the mic. All right, Pam, she got one. All right, and Eli. All right.
Last Shabbat, we were in Chicago, and we spent Shabbat with our grandson.
Whoa,
Yay.
That's awesome. Terrific. So fun.
It's spring break and I don't have to do any more work.
Yay, spring break.
I would like to thank my grandparents who left Russia, Ukraine, Poland. I don't have to deal with that stuff.
That is for sure.
Amen.
Thank you, Gino. So many of us trace our roots back to these cities we read about every day. We're very thankful to be in the safety of where we are. Anybody else? Oh, sorry, I'm about to put the microphone away. Okay, you're good. You can just shout it out if you do. Let's see if we have any online. We got one online here, two online. Miriam says she got to do FaceTime with her daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter for her birthday this morning, and that also makes us say happy birthday to you. And Meredith says, I'm thankful for my work friends, and my coworker said that I am an awesome preschool teacher. We know that to be true about you, Meredith. That is terrific. Thanks for sharing that. Well, these are some lovely smachot, folks, and we're going to turn to Mi Chamocha on page 40. We say, Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, God, among the cosmos, who can make miracles happen in our daily lives.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora ta'idot od sefer leh. Nora ta'idot od sefer leh Adonai, nimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
We'll ask everyone to turn in your Siddur to page 46, or you can look up at the screen, and we'll invite you to please rise for the Amidah. Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, why not?
Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tifka. Na 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 Ufi agi. Ufi agi tehiratecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi agi. Ufi agi tehiratecha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi agid. Ufi agid tehillatcha. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Sfatai tiftach. Na 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 Ufi agid. Ufi agid tehillatcha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Hasei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'Nehem, L'Ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Ahata Gibor Leolam Adonai. Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav LaHoshia. Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed. Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim. Somech Noflim Berofei Cholim. Umatir Asurim. Umechaye Enunato. Lishenei Afar. Michamocha Bal Yehurot. Umido Melach. Melech Memit Umechaye. Umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'emana tal hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai. Mechaye hakol. Ahata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh. U'kedoshim b'chol yom yihalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai. Ha'el hakadosh. Take just a few moments for some silent prayers. You may be seated. You can either use the words of the Amidah on page 54 through 60, or whatever words, hopes, and prayers are within your heart and soul today.
Say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Oh, say shalom. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Amen. Say shalom, shalom bimromav. Say shalom aleinu. Ve'akol Yisrael. Ve'imru amen. Ve'akol Yisrael. Amen.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. As we celebrate our Shabbat service this week, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine have been enduring now over 2.5 weeks of this horrible and unjust attack on their country. And through the darkness, through those horrible images and videos of bombed out areas and maternity hospitals and attacks on civilians and families torn apart from one another, throughout all of that, we have actually seen a little bit of light emerge from the darkness these past couple weeks. Last week, I spoke about the operation to get almost 100 Jewish orphans out of Ukraine and into Israel. And during this past week, that happened. This is an excerpt from the Times of Israel. It says, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett and other cabinet ministers were on hand at Ben Gurion Airport earlier this week to greet a group of 90 Jewish orphans who fled from Ukraine after Russia invaded. El Al, Israel's largest airline, said the flight was part of a special operation mission to rescue some 300 Jews from the fighting in Ukraine. The airline said the Ukrainian-speaking staff were on board and on flight to assist. Some of the orphans have family members who are still in fighting areas, they added. Prime Minister Bennett entered the aircraft to welcome the children, introducing himself to one boy by saying, "Hi, I'm Naphtali, Prime Minister of Israel. Would you like to come into Israel?" The boy was enthusiastic. The children fled from the city of Zhytomyr, and they had help from local Jewish groups. Chabad in Ukraine did a very impressive job of getting them out. They moved from there to Romania, and from Romania they flew to Israel. There are so many other simple acts of kindness that involve people making sacrifices of time and money. As widely reported this past week, people around the world have been booking Airbnbs in Ukraine, which they have no hope of staying in, as a way of sending money to local people there. The idea was shared by a Twitter user and got, hours later, hundreds and now thousands of people involved. And Ukrainians are responding with emotional messages back to folks on Airbnb. One of them says, "You can't even imagine how pleased we are to hear that we are not alone. There are tears in our eyes," wrote one of the Airbnb hosts. "I am very grateful to you for your support in this difficult time, and for us and for all of Ukraine." Many of us have seen the now viral picture of strollers left at a train station near Poland's border with Ukraine. Some of the strollers are packed with children's clothes and supplies. Out of the goodness of their hearts, moms and dads they would never meet, left this stroller for them. That small act of compassion that spoke to so many of us was so powerful. Scenes like these have become commonplace over the last weeks. People in and around Ukraine and throughout the world are making small sacrifices in the name of humanity and dignity and kindness. And so many people in Ukraine are also making huge sacrifices, choosing to send family away to safety while they stay back to fight, putting their lives on the line to help others, defending cities from onslaught. We see it also in Moscow and around Russia, with demonstrations as big as they have ever seen, people putting themselves in danger to say to the government, "We do not approve of these actions." There is a real sense that the vast majority of the world is all on the same page. From all of the reporting, it's clear that the people of Ukraine are appreciative of all of our support. I saw a video online earlier this week of a woman saying, "We appreciate your prayers, but we also need your humanitarian support." Prayers are so important, and they help us aspire to be that better version of ourselves. And the most effective prayers are those that are accompanied by some sort of action or change, some sort of sacrifice on our part to help someone else. This week's Torah portion is called Vayikra, which is the Hebrew word for Leviticus. It means "and God called." The third book of the Torah is Leviticus. As we begin reading this challenging part of the Torah, we learn almost right away about the importance of sacrifice. While some of the parts of the preceding book of Exodus may have been a little more action-packed and filled with these big narrative blockbuster scenes, Leviticus is more unassuming in its nature. It's filled with many of the foundational laws that make us who we are as a Jewish people. And right at the beginning of the book, we're introduced to this concept of sacrifice. I remember as a young rabbinical student being disturbed by the biblical idea of the different types of sacrifice. I remember even one of our professors joked that we should rip Leviticus out of the middle of the Torah and just get rid of it altogether. But what I learned later, and then from that exact professor, is that the sacrifices and the sacrificial system were a way for the newly freed Israelites to express themselves to God. This is before prayer ever existed, before the notion that we could open our mouths and speak to God. Not that I would ever advocate for a return to animal sacrifice. It would be very messy on this bima. But we can definitely learn from our Israelite ancestors. To say it rabbinically, sometimes it just pays to have skin in the game. When the Israelites wanted to give thanks to the Eternal One or apologize for something or celebrate and rejoice, they had to sacrifice something that was important to them, perhaps so God could see the sincerity of that expression. The sacrifices we make in many ways define who we are. They help demonstrate what our values are, where we want to spend our resources of time and money. Our tradition teaches in this week's Torah portion that words are important, that words really, really matter, but our actions have to match our prayers so that the prayers that we offer are not said in vain. We are also entering our season of Passover, the season of liberation from bondage, the season of freedom, the season of new beginnings. These themes are not lost on us when we think about how different it is across the world. Our Israelite ancestors endured generations of trauma as slaves before finally tasting the freedom as they crossed the sea. As we prepare to celebrate those freedoms at our Passover tables this year, for some of us, we're going to be in the social hall for the first time in a number of years. Let us perhaps double our efforts to help those who are not at this very moment free. Rabbi Lynette, Rabbi Apotheker, and I sent an email to our congregation last week and included some links to Jewish organizations that are really doing a lot to make a difference on the ground. Be happy to share those links with anyone here or online if you need them again. There's also a local church, Grace Evangelical Church in Grove City, which is a Slavic church with many members who have family, friends, and loved ones in Ukraine. They write on their notification, they said, "We have found that there is a great need for prayer, humanitarian, and monetary aid to help the community. Therefore, we are partnering with a logistics organization to send physical and monetary donations to local churches, orphanages, and refugee shelters, etc. Please consider joining us in giving help to aid Ukraine." And the first of their big shipments has already gone out. They shipped it up to Cleveland, and from Cleveland chartered a flight with a couple of other congregations, chartered a flight to fly this stuff over. Along with the financial support that they're collecting, they're also collecting supplies. Hopefully you saw an email from us a couple days ago saying that we're collecting the first round of supplies here at TBS this week and taking them down to Grove City on Sunday, March 20th, probably in the afternoon. So you'll see, those of you in the room, you may have noticed on the way in that there are already supplies that are starting to arrive in the mezzanine. The highest priority is medical and hospital supplies, tactical supplies, and shelter and protective gear. They also need non-perishable food and baby food and diapers and new clothing for men, women, and children, thermal underwear, blankets, hats, gloves, bedding, and sleeping bags. We have lists printed off. Some of you I saw picked them up on your way in. They're printed off here in the sanctuary, and you should have received one via email also this week, a couple days ago. So perhaps we can go to Meijer this weekend or go to Walmart and collect some stuff and bring it over here and actually put our values to work. And so many folks, I should say, have made monetary donations, and that is so effective and so important. And these supplies will just be helpful as well. So may we in this coming week really see what we can do to make a difference to people in need. A phone call or text or email to someone you know who maybe has family connections in Ukraine can make a huge difference. You can bring some of those items I mentioned, and they'll go directly to places in need in Ukraine and for the more than 2 million refugees around the border. Donations also to the JDC Ukraine Emergency Fund and other funds are always encouraged. So we begin reading the book of Leviticus, this book of Vayikra. May we be called and inspired by the sacrificial system of our ancestors, and may it lead us to sacrifice maybe just a bit more than we have in the past to make a difference in our world for people who are very much in need at this hour. May that be our blessing on this Shabbat. And what I'd like to do is, before we do Misha Berach, what I'd like to do is just read a prayer written by Miriam Kilmova, who is a third-year rabbinical student at HUC in Jerusalem, but she is from Ukraine. She left Ukraine to go and study at HUC, and she wrote this beautiful prayer that we've used a couple times in the last weeks. Why don't we read this together? Perhaps only migrating birds know, suspended between earth and sky, the heartache of two homelands. Our God, bless our friends and relatives. Lord of all creatures, by your great mercy, protect all the inhabitants of your world. Spread over them a canopy of peace, liberate them from all hatred and enmity, and plant in the hearts of all people of this earth love and fraternity, friendship and peace, and fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Amen. For all of those folks who are in need of healing around the world, for those who we'll name in our congregation, we send our prayers and our love and our stuff to help them. For healing this evening at TBS, we are thinking of Catherine Adler, Marcia Ames, Marilyn Altman, Lynn Adams, Sam Barron, Sarah Bates. Thinking of Ellen Bender, Deborah Belford, Barbara Belford, Marjorie Block, Paul Branson, Lee Budin, Jack Cashman, Dave Sedarquist, and Dorothy Cohn, Rob Cohn. Thinking of Dorothy Collins and Susan Collins and Lily Kovitz and Adrian Crawford and Rick Crawford. Ty Delano and Gary Dicker and Tony Diegler, Carrie Ebert and Sylvia Eckstein. We're thinking of Elaine Ellick, Michael Fiorelli, Rachel Fish and Olivia Glick, Don Goldberg and Jimmy Green, David Haas and Harry Hirsch, and Don Kerr and Marlene Levine and Peter Levy and Barb Lucas. We're thinking of Angel Marrero, Fred Martin, Richard McGarvey, Minna Melton, Caleb Moses, Dorothy Muncie, Dick Nettleman, Robert Oakley, and Nick Parisi. We're thinking of Aaron Phelan and Ian Phillips, Aaron Plaskow and Rashi Prostowski. We're thinking of Jessica Rathkoff and William J. Rees and Barry Richmond, Zachary Rowe, Irving Rose, Ralph Sauer, Susan Shermer, Pamela Schultz, Barbara Schuster, Marty Schuster, Richard Schur. We're thinking of Jonah Snyder, Joyce Spiegler, Ruth Ann Stewart, Lou Supowitz, Joyce Schwartzman, Greg Vinoker, and Robert Allweiss. We are thinking also of Sarah Siegfried, Pete Bowman, Harlow Nemeth, Linda Brown, for Sheila Richard, Lisa Clark, Heather Powers, and Phelan Lee Evans. And if I missed any, go ahead and put them in the chat again at the bottom there, and I'll ask folks in the congregation if you have any names to share. Thanks. Any other names? On their behalf and on behalf of all of those folks who are in need of healing, who, God willing, will feel these prayers, let's join together in Mi Sheberach.
Mi Sheberach Avotenu Mikor HaBrecha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi Sheberach Imotenu Mikor HaBrecha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. And let us say Amen.
We say Baruch Atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, God, who are in need, who sends us strength, who are in need of healing. We add Debbie Loeb to that list. We're going to turn to Bayom Hahu, which is the Mark Rossio version of Aleinu. You can find that on page 287, or right up here on the screen. On this day, God's name shall be one, and the earth shall be one. What a beautiful goal this time.
Especially today, right? Bayom Yehiyeh Adonai Echad Bayom Hahu Yehiyeh Ushemo Echad V'ne'emar, as it is written, V'ne'emar, let it be said, God rules the earth. On that day God shall be one. V'haya Adonai, Lamelech HaKol Haaretz. On that day God's name shall be one. Bayom Hahu Yehiyeh Adonai Echad Bayom Hahu Yehiyeh Ushemo Echad Ushemo Echad.
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. And this Shabbat at Temple Beth Shalom, we are remembering the recent deaths within the last 30 days of Scott Goldman, Gloria Hoke, Jan Maddox, Ronald Lee Solo, and Eileen Wachtel. And we remember those who died at this season in years past, and we take them into our hearts with our own. This Shabbat we're thinking of Shirley Bronstein, Jackie Campen, Ruth Kovitz, Thomas Dubin, Sylvia Feinstein, Robert Freed, Bertha Headley, Bessie Height, Leonard Herzog, Henry Canast, Ann Nill, Billy Colbrand, Charles Lorber, Herb Lustig, Jan Madorsky, Simon Mart, Dolores Meltzer, William Papier, Fania Rutkevich, Irv Schiffman, Tatiana Schmerler, and Jerome Steinberg. I ask if there are other names of folks who we are thinking of, who are in our memory, especially tonight, that we share their names. Anyone have a name? Thanks, Ange. On their behalf, on behalf of all those whose names we do not yet know, who have perished in this violence in Ukraine, and for all those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we turn as one community to page 294. And we're remembering also Nancy Patton. Turn to page 294, and we rise for the Kaddish prayer. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudasham b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom mimramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. And we say together, amen. You may be seated. Bobby, all right. Yes. Plenty of gas to get up here.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for those of you who are joining us here tonight. And as you leave, you will see a lot of snow outside. And thank you for those of you who are joining us at home. Please join us afterwards for light oneg in the mezzanine. A couple of short updates and announcements. Obviously, next week is Purim, and we kick off our Purim festivities next Friday. It's our plan to be outside at 6:30, but we might have to bring it indoors, as it looks like there might be some rain. But 6:30, we're going to have a short Purim service. We're going to have food provided by the men's club, games, costume parade. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, whole carnival, yes. Bounce house, all the good stuff. And then, so that's March 18th at 6:30. March 19th at 4 o'clock. So on Saturday, we will have a Purim fun for Hot Shabbat. So if you're around, please bring out the kiddos. We will be inside for that if there is weather as well. Okay, so that is on. Okay, so we will be inside for that regardless. If you haven't looked at your window yet, you will see that Mitzvah Day is in full swing. It's our first Mitzvah Day since 2019. So we're rebooting Mitzvah Day. And it's not just a day, it's a whole weekend. We're doing a lot of different stuff this year. Diane Herman is the chair of Mitzvah Day, and we're bringing some really great new ideas to it. So look at your window. There's sign-up information in there, and also check out the e-window as well. And lastly, as we celebrate Purim, we're reminded about the perseverance of the Jewish people. As you are eating your Hamantasha next week, you have an opportunity to help TBS persevere for the next generation by leaving a legacy gift to the temple and supporting the temple for the next couple of decades. It's really, really easy to do and costs absolutely nothing today. So if you have any questions or would like to learn more, please be in touch with me or Life and Legacy Chair Pam Shear. With that, Shabbat Shalom and have a great weekend.
Shabbat Shalom. Let me just note that the Purim festivities actually kick off on Tuesday with Lunch and Learn. There's a WBS Lunch and Learn in the library Tuesday at, I believe it's at 11 a.m. And we are doing, I'm teaching a session that we're going to call, I think we're going to call it Ukraine, Purim, and Forgiveness. So if you want to see what that's all about, should be interesting, and join us for that. We're going to do a closing song, and then we'll do Kiddush after that. What should our closing song be?
Sweet as honey.
Oh, yeah, sweet as, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
Sweet as honey.
Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue.
I'm just throwing something at you, Mark. Can we do whatever one you'd like? I just think we should end with our prayer for peace.
Oh, say shalom limromah. Oh, yeah, say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Shalom Dimroma. Uya say Shalom Aleinu Ve'alko Yisrael Ve'alko Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru. Amen. Yalaitai. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la.
Beautiful. Thank you, as always, to Mark Rossio for your beautiful music. Thank you, Angelo, for manning the tech tonight. So that's not your job, so thank you for that. We appreciate it. Leslie, I know you're out there. Thank you for putting the Oneg stuff together. Bobby, thank you for those announcements. Thank you all for being who you are as humans. Let's join together. I'm done with this. Is my where they drag you off of my acceptance speech for something. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinheltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Sure. L'chaim, that's fine. We'll take that. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Shabbat shalom.